When Nolan woke up, he coughed wildly and his body was all broken. He looked at the blurry wreckage lying in the bushes with tired eyes. Sparks from broken machines flickered among the pieces of metal and wires that were tangled and going through the trees for miles. He realized it was a plane, or what was left of one. As he slowly lifted his head, pain shot through his head. The red made it hard for him to see, but he blinked and could see broken twigs and broken things lying around in the green. Body parts. People are stuck and broken, and they are left to the grim things that can be found in this inland African wilderness. One lay bent among twisted metal, its limbs clawed at odd angles. Another person close was quiet and seemed to be watching him with glassy eyes. How many travelers died here? His thighs. Nolan strained his eyes downward and gasped as he looked at the crumpled, blood-stained flight suits. Where skin used to be, bone shone a bright white. It is useless and broken beyond repair, just like everything else here. The thought made my lips crack with a laugh that wasn't meant to be funny. After all these years of living through battles, he finally died here, by himself with the dead. But wait, you're not alone. Sounds that made his blood run cold came from the brush. A loud noise. Figures came out of the rubble limping, drawn by things that couldn't be seen. They were bloody and messy, and their faces were blank, but hunger shone in their eyes. They always went to places that were in bad shape and had lost things. Oh, no. 2 moving forms were killed by a crack of gunshots that ripped through the air. Soldiers came out of the bush and fought off more people who were stumbling. One ran quickly to Nolan, leaving the gurgled cries behind them. You're safe now. He made it before the darkness took him again. The person's consciousness went back to being clean and voiceless. He was being moved while a dirty roof swung above him. There were people in uniforms working on machines and cots full of hurt town residents. In the middle of the Angolan bush, there is a camp with high walls and guard towers all around it. At least for now, this place looked safe. Nolan's feelings came back after more treatment, and the pain became just an ache. A soldier came up to them. It was Corporal Bays who was in charge of these survivors. He said in a grim voice, "You're the only one who made it out alive. Those things have been on our radar for weeks as we look for my daughter. When it began, she was on a school trip nearby. After years of seeing horrible things, his eyes got darker. Please help us find her if you're healthy enough. After that, I can fly you all away. After you saved my men's lives, it's the least I can do." When Nolan looked at Bays, he saw in his eyes how much loss can hurt a person, and knew that look well because he had been there himself. Behind the broken pieces of his old life, his wife and daughter were waiting. Did they not know about his fall from the sky yet? Or did fate already take them, as it seemed to take everyone in this new world? It didn't matter, he decided. He would take any chance left for Bays and his people. Nolan grabbed the corporal's arm and gave a weak nod. "I'll help you. Find her." As the trucks drove through overgrown areas, curled smoke lines rose into the sky. Nolan leaned against a worn-out piece of canvas and watched the trees fly by between his bandaged friends. 2 weeks had passed while they were recovering, and lectures filled the time. Now, Bays's watchers saw new movement, which could mean that his lost daughter is still out there. Their cars slowed down near downed trees, and troops got out to practice moves. On Bays's radio, it said, "Squad 4, status." "Over," Static replied. There were nervous whispers before 3 figures, bloody and limping, came out from the bushes. As other troops rushed to help the hurt soldier who was being dragged between them, they looked for bites or scratches. Bays yelled and rushed over. "What did you do? Where are the others in Foster?" One survivor gasped, "Ambush! They came out of nowhere." The second one shook and said, "Too many. Had to get away." Bays swore again and slammed his gun into a trunk out of anger. Dread had spread through the camp. Families were being torn apart and friends were being killed every day by this new threat. He had to keep going for the sake of his daughter. There were no more signs of the lost squad when the search went on. That night, Bays stiffly talked about better times, like birthday parties and school shows where his daughter had lead roles. A smile on these people's faces is now the only thing that drives Bays after losing so much. While the others were having trouble sleeping, Nolan gently offered to help with the patrol the next day to reopen search areas. Bays gave a grateful nod. At dawn, they went out into the mists before dawn, with Nolan's dogs looking around for clues. As they went deeper into the eerie quiet, their senses were alert for anything strange in the crumbling society. Pieces of clothing caught on thorns and drag marks in the ground were signs that Bays' scouts had missed earlier. It looked like some people might still be alive when snapped trees were seen. Then a chorus of moans and moving feet made a sound that came from outside of people. Hundreds of figures, stumbling in a straight line, came out of the fog from all directions. The search group pulled out their guns and fired short bursts of controlled fire to stop the tide. But more and more came. With that many people, the only thing left to do was to run away. As the crowd chased Bays, he yelled and yelled into his radio. "This is Bays from Bays Camp. We're cut off. Send more troops north right now." Static replied once more. When the rest of Bays' unit showed up, they were out of breath, and their trucks were empty and quiet. There was no one in sight, and all the supplies and guns were taken away. Only the sounds of gunfire and screams from far away gave us grim signs. They fell into a trap while the real danger destroyed the place where these survivors lived. It was all over. After searching the ruins for days, tracks were finally found. They were made by a big group moving east with military precision. Bays gave the order to pursue, in order to find out more about this new possible group. In the end, their search led them to signs of life inside a town that was surrounded by a high metal fence with coiled wires on top. As they got closer, tired faces looked out of windows, showing a range of feelings, from fear to happiness. Bays tapped on the old gates. "Hi there. Is there anyone there? We don't mean any harm to you." When the bolts finally opened, they saw a thin man with a little girl holding onto his leg. Bays was so shocked that he almost dropped his gun. It looked like his search was over. Malik, the village leader, took care of their hurt, while Bays fell to the ground and started crying next to his daughter. Nolan smiled warmly at the reunion, but thoughts of his own lost family made him feel sad and happy at the same time. As night fell, a simple meal was served around fires inside the walled complex. Malik taught Bays how the village managed to stay alive by fortifying houses and mills while the plague spread outside. They got through the worst times with small fields and rain barrels. But materials ran out, and it became more important to fix the defenses. Bays got together and was determined to help the people he was now protecting. Patrols would look for trash farther away while the walls were being fixed up. Nolan joined scouting runs, where dogs look for signs of life. Someone found a path that led north into the lush mountains. There, they found an empty village with homes that were overgrown but still in good shape, tucked away in misty valleys. Such greenery in the middle of nothingness gave a rare glimpse of hope. When they got back at dusk, cries came from the town, where they saw shaky silhouettes coming out from behind the walls. Malik gathered the defenses while the hurt people went to safety. Nolan and Bays rushed to make the gates stronger as weakly clawed figures tried to break through them. Dozens of people surrounded them and attacked without thinking. Methodical gunfire killed many, but more bodies were soon replaced, like an endless wave. Among the chaos, the sound of a child screaming broke through. Nolan turned around and saw a small figure scrambling away from hands that were holding holes in the fence. It was Malik's son, who was stuck outside. When Nolan swung open the gates, he and his dogs ran into the swarm and dove on it, killing threats with their claws and bullets. Nolan fought his way back through the attack while his friends set up cover fire and took the crying boy into his bloody arms. Nolan fell asleep inside the gates and gave the child to the waiting arms before the darkness took his tired body again. When the village woke up in the morning, they praised their heroes. Even though they had lost 4 people while defending the barricades all night, Baze gave Nolan a solemn hug to thank him for being brave. And then his eyes hardened with a stronger determination. They would no longer have to deal with such losses. The time had come to attack. Their patrols went north to the peaks along secret paths that led them to track animals and look for resources along clear streams. In clearings in the forest, they found homemade camps that were left over from before the explosion that started it all. Prayer mats and food pots that were torn up and lying under overturned carts showed that people were running away from a bigger threat. By going backwards, the search party was able to see over misty hills and see a secret in the high valleys below. As the fall leaves fell, camouflage nets disappeared, showing armed guards in fields being cared for inside electrified fencing. Heavy machinery rumbled along the well-kept streets that ran between homes and factories that were busy with work. A lot of people had been able to stay alive here, but there was instability below the surface, as shown by the guards who were snapping in the stronger barricades that faced the forest. When they showed up, it set off alarms, and people rushed to block exit routes from this secret community. Residents with guns swarmed the edges, and nervous emotions were clear, assuring Baze that they didn't mean any harm. They were just looking for a way to work together against the hordes below. After tense talks, the leader of the settlement, Harris, let them in as long as they gave up all of their guns. Inside, they found more than 100 people barely making it. Irrigation kept the fields alive, and power plants gave them light and safety. Still, people looked hungry, and supplies ran out. Harris said that refugees used to flood this village, making it too big to be safe. Raids and fighting broke out, causing them to join other groups and putting harsh rules on his people. That night, there were party fires in the town square. Even though he had doubts, Baze hoped that both groups could come to an agreement that would help them. As the 2 leaders talked, Nolan's dog suddenly barked, and there was a familiar moving sound at the fence. Defenders fired warning shots that didn't work. Within seconds, the horde ate up defense positions because there were so many of them. As fear spread, chaos broke out. While Baze tried to turn on backup generators to fix the outer defenses that had been turned off, Nolan rallied the locals. Nolan saw Harris running alone toward secret garages through the smoke. There was a problem. Harris's tracks led him into the storm, where he found empty gun caches and cars. The man had no plans to defend these people. When Harris faced the traitor, they fought until the traitor was broken and laughing hysterically about how he would do anything to keep his vision. Nolan wouldn't let these innocent people die. So he fired flares and took control of an APC, driving through the crowd to help the besieged villages. Its machine guns killed a lot of infected people, giving surviving hope as they defended their homes. During the bloody night, their troops were pushed back by the new attack. At dawn, Nolan, Baze, and a small group of other people were still hiding in the village church, which was full of dead bodies. With all the weapons used up, Nolan's last clip was the only thing that stood between the victims and the mindless crowd pulling at the locked doors. He hugged Baze and the shaky villagers, knowing that this was going to be his last fight. Go now while you can. I'll give you time to get away across the fields. With a nod, Baze told the survivors to run through a hole in the group. As they ran away, Nolan's bullets fired one last time, filling the church with decayed figures. The lieutenant smiled happily as he thought of his loved ones and welcomed the coming darkness. He found comfort in giving up everything to help others survive this new world's sadness. Through smoke and dust, the last thing he saw were the villagers disappearing into the fog. He kept his word to help others until the end.